My name is Jimmy Purdy, shop owner, master tech, transmission builder, and the host of the Gearbox Podcast. Here I talk with new and seasoned shop owners, as well as industry professionals about day-to-day operations within their own shops and all the failures and successes that come along the way. From what grinds your gears to having to shift gears in the automotive industry, this is the Gearbox Podcast.
Some oil change, hiring techs. Call this number. When I worked at a dealer.
They had you put them on too, all the stickers. Hey, make sure you put.
I didn't put them on. I didn't. Yeah, well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but I mean, I've had people come in and apply and or so on and so forth. But I mean, as well as I do, you can sniff the bullshit out in a week. I mean, Either you got it or you don't. If you don't got it, I mean, really, I don't really have much use for you with the amount of, workflow in which I have. I need someone that can show up day in, day out, get jobs done. I mean, I can diagnose everything, quote the repairs. I really need a great R&R guy that's efficient, so I can break it down. And, if it's a transmission that needs to be rebuilt, which I'm about to phase out, that's just too time consuming. I do offer it. I can do it. But I mean,
the pay's just not there, man. There's so much more work you can do in that time period that pays so much more than to spend 8 hours on a bench dealing with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you need to replace the cooler or you need to flush the cooler. And if you don't do it right, there's a potential for a comeback. It needs to come back in 500 miles a check. They don't come back in 500. There's another chance for a comeback. They go tow with it in the first 500. There's like all these different things. And I'm not trying to say that you can always point the finger at the client, like when something goes wrong, but if you've been through transmissions, man, they fail, right? Like things just happen in that first 10,000 miles. Just for whatever reason, right? And sometimes it's the fault of the builder. Oh, I missed that, right? Like I missed the critical leak inside that caused the first failure. Because once you get inside of it, it's like it just went through a barbecue. You're like, I don't know what happened here. And most of the time, you can catch what what valve wore out or whatever, and you replace it. But sometimes you don't, and then it comes. So then you're in the middle of another build, and this thing comes back to your door, and they're hot to trot, right? Like I don't know what it is about once they spend over $5,000, but people just lose their freaking mind if something happens. They come back hollering and screaming, and you're like, just relax. I'll take care of you. Just give me a day. A day? Yeah, I'm in the middle of I feel your pain. I feel your pain, man. It's just, and I've been there down that road, and I'm like, I'm at the same point. Like, I'll do one every 3 months. Like that's my limit. You know what I mean? It's just not worth it.
Which I'm by no means perfect. Yes, I've lipped a seal or something, on an input shaft or something like that.
Yeah.
And when I test drove it, it was fine, and then all of a sudden it broke loose. Something like that happens, and it's unfortunate, especially being a one-man shop. And then it comes back, you got to tear back down. And I did a couple bench builds, and that's a clusterfuck to say the least.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, people don't have heated flushers. There's no way that they can get all that metal and crap out without a heated flusher, or even if it's a complete abomination, it needs to be replaced. But, as well as I do, those fins expand, under heat. The transmission operating temperatures are like 180, 200 degrees. If you don't get the fluid that hot, the fins aren't opening up all the way to flush all that crap out of it to get it completely flush. And then all of a sudden they put this transmission in and they're like, well, I drove 100 miles and now it doesn't have third gear. I'm like, what the heck?
Or they don't index the converter or whatever other crazy things they do when they install them. The bench builds is a totally different. Nope. And I started doing just standards only. Like I'll do bench standards, but somehow they figured a way to screw that up too. So I'm like, you know what? No, like You know what I
well,
mean?
the
Like somehow
price.
they get the linkage arms crossed and then it's bound up and when they, you get the two shift collars bound and now it's stuck and they're like, you need to come out and look at this
Yeah,
right now. So I got to leave the shop and like it worked. I spun it on the bench, right? So I get out there and just
right.
tap the linkage with a hammer, unsticks itself and then everything's fine. It's like, really? I just spent an hour. Like, yeah, I'm over this.
Yeah. Well, you're a better man than me. I don't leave the shop. I have people call me all the time, whatever. Will you come look at this? I'm like, no, I don't do field calls. If you're my customer, I'll keep you as happy as possible. I'll treat you the absolute best in which I can and do honest work. But field calls, I mean, I did it when I was doing side work, before going full time legit. And every time it always winds up as I didn't bring enough tools, or I didn't bring the right tool, or so on and so forth. And I'm like, just get it towed to the shop.
Yeah.
Hell, if it's something I worked on prior, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the tow bill. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. That's definitely the better way to go I mean, it's just sometimes you get like a top loader, 3-speed, something like that, and like I'm not paying for
right?
a tow bill. There's only so many things that could go wrong with this thing. So you run out and check it, and it's something stupid like that. You're like, this is just a waste of my time. I'd rather I'd
Yeah,
rather have something come in with an engine light diag, something like that, like something I know I can do easy, quick. Spend 45 minutes, bill an hour and a half on it. Cool. We're like everybody's happy. You know what I mean?
exactly,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
well, Mr. Dailey Kelley, right? Did I say that
yes,
right?
sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, you did.
So
Jim, do
we're
you
at
go
a
by Jim or Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Jimmy
Yep,
Purdy.
the Jimmy Purdy. That's
All
right.
right,
Yeah.
good deal.
So you're out of Kentucky then, right?
Yes, sir. Bardstown, Kentucky. We're about 1 hour south of Louisville, and the bourbon capital of the world. If you
That's
enjoy
awesome.
that,
Yeah, I bet.
yeah.
I guess that could be an argued point though, right?
Uh, to some,
It's,
but I mean,
he's
we
like, no,
have all the
it's not
distillers.
debatable. That is not debatable.
Now, Louisville's been trying to take it for a couple years, but we'll let that right. We'll let that die there.
Yeah. uh, think what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, cool, man. I said appreciate you coming in, being on.
Not a problem. I appreciate you having me. So this is my first podcast. I
That's
apologize
awesome,
if
man.
I
Yeah.
fumble or rumble through a few things.
So you run your shop. You're kind of a one man show. You're telling me when we got on here, got somewhat of a helper, but basically kind of on your own.
Correct. Yes,
Anything in
sir.
particular that you specialize in, or what's your shop look like?
So specialty wise, I would say heavy line, electrical, and drivability
Nice,
would be my main specialties. Uh, do a touch of transmission work, um, and I do quite a bit of rear end work. So kind of everything, but specialty wise, I would say heavy line, electrical, and drivability.
nice stuff will keep you busy out there, huh?
Ah,
So you
unbelievably
so
busy.
you got quite a story to tell, huh?
I've seen a thing or two and claimed to know a thing or two,
So
I guess.
you started in the dealership side. What
I
kind of pivot?
did.
Yeah, what pivoted you to want to branch out on your own?
So, I mean, branching out on my own, started as a dealer. I went to trade school through UTI, moved away from home, all the way in Houston. So I moved all the way to Houston, Texas. Went to trade school there at UTI. Left there, and they got me a job in Indianapolis at a Ford dealer. Uh, I'm in Central Kentucky, so there's actually two Ford plants in Louisville: the LAP plant and the KTP plant. One's for Louisville Assembly Plant and Kentucky Truck Plant. So I thought it'd make sense, go with Ford. Everybody around here has one. They work there. So moved to Indianapolis out of Houston at a Ford dealership, Townwood Ford. Stayed there for about 8 months. Met a girl, my wife now, who's awesome. Couldn't really do this without her, so that's cool. Um, from there, moved back to Louisville, closer to home. Worked at Oxmoor for a year and a half. Then I worked at Dailey for almost 9 years. And the biggest thing for me about the dealer, once I got to Dailey, found people I liked, great friends with the service manager. I mean, we still talk to this day. No problems with most of my coworkers, I'll say. Um, but the biggest thing is once you get certified and all, you know your stuff, you're good at it. It's warranty work, and that's all fine and dandy. I can handle the warranty work as far as wages go, all that. But it's the fact of dealing with the manufacturer to get the approvals, like the approval time. I had 4 lifts for me, my personal use, and 1 flat saw before I left because I specialize in heavy line and drivability. I mean, I would have to have engines tore down, heads ripped off, um, then have to take pictures, submit all these pictures to Ford just to get an approval when I already know what's wrong, how to fix the vehicle, go ahead with the repair, and get the customer back in the vehicle in a timely fashion. But it's under warranty, so Ford has to pay for it. And they want all the documentation and so on and so forth, which kind of draws out my time. And at the end of it, I was eventually just fed up with it. It wasn't the people that I worked with or the atmosphere in which I was in. It was the manufacturer
Just the corporate
themselves and the way
structure.
they went about it. Yeah, the corporate structure. And um,
I
I
mean, what
was
would
doing
happen like they go through something like that and they don't approve? Like I mean, they're gonna approve it, right? Like how many times you had something you tear it down and then they didn't approve the repair because it wasn't covered under the warranty? It just seems asinine. It just doesn't make sense to me.
so. As far as that goes, repair under warranty, it depends. They're going to do the least costly repair. I mean, and from what I had seen, so um, you see a lot of these 4-cylinder EcoBoost engines cracking blocks, 1.5s, 1.6s, 2 liters, warping heads. That was, that was what I did every day. Um, but they would want proof repair as far as if the block's not cracked, say in a 1.5, block's not cracked, we'll put a head gasket and a cylinder head on it. When me as a technician, being that I've worked on hundreds of these, know that that is going to come back in 6 months with the same issue because there's probably a hairline crack in between the cylinder wall, but you can't pick that up with a camera. I
Right.
mean, iPhone,
Right.
whatever camera you have, a hairline crack, that customer is going to be dissatisfied and have to bring it back and have another engine replaced. Like, I think they should vet it in a way in which your tenure, should be on display of like, you've seen these issues before. Your comeback rating is less than 1%. You know what you're doing. Let me fix it in the way in which it needs to be fixed. But
Right. Right.
I also understand, I don't understand, I guess, but as a big incorporation, you're talking about millions of vehicles on the road. I mean, so you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in repair that they have to foot the bill for. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. So, I mean, the corporate part side of it is what I was sick and tired of.
Well, and it's just a disservice to the client too, right? Even if they're not on the hook
Exactly.
not on the hook for the bill. And that's one of the things I just had the same conversation the other day with a client about an engine and having an engine problem. And it's kind of like Well, what do you want me to do? It's got a noise. It's got an internal noise, right? Well, what is it? Well, does it matter? Right? Like, do you want to pay me for a day of labor to tear this thing down to find where the noise is? Or do you want to cut to the chase and just put an engine in it? Because that's what it's going to be, right? Whether it's the wrist pin
Right.
or rod knock or lifter knock or what, like, and sure, some of the time you can have a bad lifter and stuff like that, sure. But even if you do something like that, you wipe out a cam on these LS3s, right?
Ah,
Where'd all
yeah.
that metal go,
Yeah.
right? Or the Hemi-Tig, right? Or you take one of those. I was like,
Yeah.
where'd all that metal go? And so you're gonna spend $3,000, right, to repair this, and then what's the rest of the engine like for the next 2 years, 3 years? You're gonna keep this for 10 years, so you've got a ball maybe the size of a marble full of metal floating around your engine somewhere that shouldn't have metal anywhere, right? It's like,
Right.
man, like
Exactly.
what, like, so let's cut to the chase here. Where do you want to spend your money that makes the most sense? And you get into these vehicles, and I think everybody kind of has that same standard operating procedures. Like if it's got 200,000 miles on it, you're probably not going to call out a head job. You're going to call out an engine because it's just you don't
Right.
want to get involved
Exactly.
in that shit, man. The Ford Edges, right? You probably saw a few of those, right?
Oh, yeah, a plethora. I
Or
actually
what were
just
they?
had one
The
dropped
Flex,
off today.
not the Edge, the Flex, the one with leak coolant in the engine and the motor oil and all that, and
Oh, no. So the 3.5s, it comes in Flex, Edge,
yeah, it was an Edge. Okay, okay,
Explorer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Flex,
yeah,
Edge, Explorer, the 3.5,
yeah, yeah,
naturally aspirated ones. But I will say this about those engines because my wife actually owns one and she wanted an Explorer forever. And her aunt was selling a 2-liter EcoBoost. I said, we're definitely not buying that one. I said, you find one with a 3.5 naturally aspirated. I said, well, buy it. So that they are great engines, but that is their only Achilles heel is that internal water pump, and it is a job to get to because it's driven
yeah,
off the timing chain.
yeah,
Other than that, they're great. But I'm not going to sit here on my pedestal. I've definitely made my bread and butter off those jobs because not like I mean I've done probably I'll say over 150 of them
yeah.
ultimately just in the 3.5 engine. They come in Edges, Explorers,
Yeah,
Tauruses,
I can't knock them too
yeah,
much because I have the
and
Explorer
Flexes.
with the 3.7 in it, so that's my daily driver right now. So
Ah,
I picked up an
there you go.
Interceptor. Yeah, that thing moves, so I can't say anything too bad about them. I've
Oh,
seen enough of them come in. I'm like, holy moly, that's a big job. And then you get some of them, and you rip it all down, and then you realize how bad it is, and it's like this engine's no good, right? So you get it torn down, and you're like, you need an engine. Oh, I thought it was just gonna be a water
mm.
pump. Like, no, I'm not
So as
comfortable. I'm not
long
comfortable you paying me to like give this back to you and have it fail in a year because it's like it's just the
right
nature of what it is.
no, you're right. As long as the oil doesn't look like chocolate milk, as long as it doesn't leak internally,
Yeah,
put a water pump in it, and they're golden.
yeah.
But
Usually,
yeah,
usually.
typically,
But yeah, some of those jobs,
depends on
man, it's like it's just, and it's the same with going back to the transmissions, right? It's like it's just easier to sell them a remanufactured, give them the reman's warranty, call it a day, right? Give you a nationwide
right,
warranty. Something else happens somewhere else around the country in the state, they can take it to another shop, get another one put in. You make your margin on the part, you get your labor to install it, and that's it, right? It's just so much easier. And you even get those, you cut some of them, you can repair, right? Sometimes you can either do like a valve body repair, readjust a
right,
band, something like that. But it just gets to the point where you do that, it comes back in a year, hey, you just rebuilt this or you just fixed it. No, no, it was just a repair. Oh well, I spent like $1,500. Yeah. Well, if I knew it was gonna fail in 10 months, I would have just put that money towards a new one. It's like that's the conversation we had, right? So as
exactly.
of lately, it's just I just try to push that even harder. Like, do you want to spend this 1,500 now, or do you want to spend a little bit more? And a little bit more is usually twice, but at least that way everything's covered, and you don't have to worry about anything with this transmission for the next 3 years. Let's just do that, right? Let's just cut to the chase. And but then it's like, where does that line get drawn? Is like now you're just a part swapper. Now you're just like, but What do you want
No,
to do,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's why I take a lot of pride in my work. And so, I mean, obviously, I met you through ASOG, so I use TechMetric. So I apply, pictures, videos, everything of all the diagnostics in which we do. So it builds a trust relationship between the customer and myself to where, you know, they see exactly what we see. And I try to keep it completely open. Um, and, as far as transmission jobs, I mean, you drop the pan, you do a line pressure test, so on and so forth. It fails, next step, drop the pan, see how much metal's on the magnet, see what we're dealing with before we get, heavily involved in this. And if it looks like a fuzzy wuzzy and full of metal on top of the magnet, it's done. It's not really. Could I go
Yeah.
in and rebuild it? Yes, I could. I'll go in. I'll put a zip kit in the valve body. I'll put upgraded drums and everything, all that from Sonex and Transco, all that. But I mean, at that point, we're putting updated or upgraded parts. I always do OEM or better. We're putting upgraded parts in it. Those parts cost more. My time to rebuild it and do it correctly
Well, research it
costs
too.
more than a reman.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
does too. Yeah, within yeah $500, and you're looking at the like. Even though the remans aren't nowhere near the amount of quality that you're
no,
gonna put into it, but the bottom
boom,
line
you hit the nail on the head right there.
but the bottom line is they get in the car, and if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, whatever the speeds are, right? As long as it shifts through all 10 forward speeds and one in reverse, that's all they care. Like
Right.
the consumer of the vehicle, right? They 99% of the people out there, they don't know the difference. As long as it goes into gear and it goes down the road, they don't care how long it took you to do this or what part you put in. It's just as long as it's in, it works, and it's warranted. That's the bottom line as for the consumer.
Exactly.
And I can't fault them for that, right? Like that's not a negative thing, right? But yeah, I mean, and then like they said, the research of putting those aftermarket parts in, like, sure, I can do a few 68 RFEs, a few 4L60s. I got a pretty good recipe I put together, but there's new stuff that's coming out all the time for these things, right? Like the
Right.
1968 RFEs, they just came out with the updated kits for those. Like there's like nothing available for those stupid transmissions. So you got to do a little
Yeah.
research and see what's available, and then like does that kit mesh with that kit, right? Because like some of those kits you can't really put together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lot of time and research to get that stuff figured out, and I
Exactly.
don't have that
Playing
stuff.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I
Yeah.
don't have that stuff memorized top of my head. Like sure you can do like 7 to 10 thousandths per clutch, but realistically, like a 3 4s on a 4L60, everyone's different, right? Like I like to set them up closer to
Exactly.
25 thousandths, right, with 6 clutches. Like that's not 10 thousandths per clutch. And you look at the
I,
book and
ha-
it
I
tells you
have
to
a.
put 60. Like it's crazy.
I've got a notebook per manufacturer as far as that goes, like
Yeah,
about
that's
clutch
smart.
tolerances and all that. And
Yeah, yeah.
I do well with physically writing down notes. People are like, why don't you, put your schedule on your phone? All that. I tried that. I It doesn't work for me. I have a planner that I pack around with me everywhere, and that is my schedule. I have to have you physically wrote down what your calls and concern is, and the date in which I will see you. I can't do it on my phone. Can't do it on my computer. But if I have it physically in front of me, that's what works with me. As far as like build sheets as well, you know, like you say with transmissions. So I have a notebook for each manufacturer, and I have like one of those little highlighter sticky pad things for each transmission per that manufacturer, and that's what I go off of. And I have to write it down, look at it, see it, and to be able to comprehend it all.
Retain it. Yeah.
Exactly, retain it. Yeah.
Sometimes I got to do all five. I got to write it
Depending on
down.
the
I got to
day,
write it down,
yes.
read it. Got to put it on my phone. I got to put it on my computer. I got to put it on the wall. I got to put it on the whiteboard. Okay,
Right.
I'm not gonna forget that one. That one's there now. Yeah, it's not everything works for everybody, and I have the difficulty with that with like some local shops around here and trying to get emails to them. Like I don't do emailing, and like okay, so then I text them and just call me. So I got to call this one, I got to text this one, I got to email this. It's like all right, well, whatever works. It's nice when everyone can get on the same page, but at the same time, you're like, hey, you know what? Whatever works. If you don't like checking your email,
Right.
you don't like checking your email. Like that's fine.
Exactly.
I have 6 emails that I check like 10 times a day, right? Like that's just me though. So I've always liked the planners. I've tried. It's funny you say that because I have like so many notebooks laying around here in the office, like that I've tried to use to like write stuff down. And I just all of a sudden it's like December and I'm looking at this thing and it's like flipped to February. I'm like, wow, I haven't opened this thing up in a few months. I guess the planner was a bad idea for me. So yeah,
Well, everybody has their niche, but
yeah, yeah.
that that's what seems to work with for me, anyways, and that's what my wife even gets on. I do use Siri every now and again. I guess iPhone. Like if I have to do something, I can click the button and be like, Siri, remind me in 15 minutes to turn the flusher off, and it'll ding. So I'm like,
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's smart.
Okay, I had to turn the
well,
flusher
there
off.
you
A
go.
date saw
So
him
Look at
then
that. She
for
knows
this
you.
evening at 9:30
yeah.
p.m.
Talk about perfect, man. That was awesome. Uh, well, see that you just use it now, so we can check that box for the day, huh? That was pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
oh,
That's funny.
exactly. Yeah, I use it pretty often for just random little knickknack things, turn the parts washer off or such and so forth. I mean, I try to use technology to my advantage, but I'm still old school in the fact that I still write handwritten notes.
Makes sense. So you're in a pretty small town.
I am, yes, sir.
So how's that work with it's always interesting to me to hear the different, stories of like getting people to the door and like reaching out to the community. What's something that works really well for you? It's worked for you over the years. I mean, it seems like you were at the dealership, so it seems like your hands were kind of tied up. Were you kind of getting a lot of side work at the time, or was it just once you opened it up and let everyone know the floodgates open, or how did that work out?
So when I worked at the dealer, like I said, I worked. The last dealer in which I worked at was Dailey Ford, and Dailey Ford's in Louisville, Kentucky. So it's about an hour north, Bardstown, the town in which I live in. Um, but I network with a lot of people. I have a lot of friends all over the surrounding counties and so on and so forth. And I did a lot of side work prior to it, but I'd never had a lift. Like I have a garage, like a simple 2-car garage, you would say. Um, no lift, anything like that. I would do, knick-knack stuff, as far as like tune-ups, drivability issues, check engine lights, something like that. I would diagnose them, just some extra cash, side money, as far as that goes. And if I could fix it, great. With the equipment which I had at the time, makes a little extra money. If not, then I'd say, it's beyond what I can do right here with the equipment which I got. Uh, but it also opened my eyes up to, there's more to it. There's a door opening per se. Um,
The writing
and
was on the
then
wall, huh?
exactly, and the calls were becoming more and more frequent. And it got to the point in which it was overwhelming in the fact either I've got to quit my day job or, pursue this. And I took the leap. I did. And needless to say, it was very scary. Probably one of the scariest things I've done. As far as quitting a job where I was, you know, well, not to say well known, but well, knowledgeable in the field, having a steady paycheck and saying, no, I'm going to stop that and go out on my own.
Now, at the time, do you think it felt like you'd kind of reached your kind of like ceiling, and that's kind of what forced you out the door? Is that kind of what's got your mind walking? Because obviously, everything seemed like it was going in the right direction. You're in a good spot, right? You had like a lot of things going. You're the lead tech. You got a lot of certifications. I mean, you kind of set, right?
Right.
And that's when
Exactly.
that's when they say idle hands are the devil's playground, right? You're just like,
Yeah.
man,
Oh,
I'm kind of
yes.
done everything I needed to do here. Do you feel like that kind of like pushes you out the door without having the next challenge to keep you, what do you call it, occupied or?
Yeah. So you get it. Occupied, yes, but also at the same time, so it's the fact, like I said, I get back to the Ford warranty part. Like 90% of my work was warranty work, which okay, whatever. But a lot of it, these are brand new vehicles. They're coming off with a lot of issues. Like they don't even have wiring diagrams properly printed out for these. I'm talking 100 to 500 miles. And, you know, you get burnt out on the fact that you have to fight the manufacturer to get paid because obviously I worked flat rate and I make more flat rate. I don't want to be hourly per se, I mean, I would make more flat rate than hourly, and you just constantly beat your head against the wall, whereas, you know, nothing is people I work for, you see the lesser certified technicians, getting tune-ups and, you know, brake jobs, where I don't even really like to do brakes, but tune-ups, something
Just the easy
easier,
burner,
not
the
so
easy
stressed.
burns. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you're over here smashing your head against the wall trying to figure out what in the world is going on with this, where it's a brand new vehicle and there's no really service information out about it, and you got the scope out, you got everything else, hooked up to it, and you find like it's just a bolt that's pinched a network wire, but you didn't have wiring diagrams with. But how do you claim that in a dealer world? You can claim so much M time and so on and so forth, but when you get into jobs that are, I mean, you spend legitimately 20 hours on a job diagnosing something, something you don't have the proper information for on a brand new vehicle, and you figure it out, and they pay you 9 hours. That sucks.
Yeah, that's a gut punch. Yeah, because you can't
Yeah.
really send that out, right? I think that's maybe
Right.
a luxury of the, well, unless you have a big ego, but it's a luxury of the independent world, right? Like I can have a problem and it gets to a point like, you know what, this is not profitable, and so I need to turn it. Like it needs to go. And typically those cars are going to go to the dealer, right? Like we've spent our time on it. I think it's time to cut ties before we get more invested in it than we really need to, because I don't have a good path right now. I've got 5 or 6 other after this that are going to be profitable to me. So why am I wasting my time on this one when I don't have a clear direction or a clear path forward? So it just goes to the dealer. Doesn't happen a lot. Needs to probably happen more. But I think the ego
Right.
steps in. It's like, no, no, you can figure it out. You can figure it out, right? And then you start losing your ass on this thing that's like, and so that's I guess what I was getting at was like the luxury of being able to send it to a dealer. But once you're at the dealer, if you can't figure something out, or if you get 20 hours in something, you're only going to get paid 9. How do you cut ties with that? How can you walk away from that?
Oh,
A bottle of bourbon, huh? That's pretty much it. But you don't. I mean,
yeah.
especially being the senior tech there, being a lead tech at the. It's not like it can keep going up the ladder there. So it's stuck with you until you figure it out. Is that fair to assume?
Yeah. Well, no. So what they were calling an FSE, field service engineer, which I won't say his name is public podcast, but I mean he was decent, and But he'd ask me to do all these tests. I'm like, I've done everything you have told me to do, and now I got to spend more time doing it again so you can visually see it. And we're at the same conclusion after wasting 2 days worth of work. And so, I mean, it's when you get the really, really tough ones, they suck. They flat out, they just flat out suck. And so, going back to that, I will revert to that. The two individuals that brought me in under their wing fresh out of trade school was Mike and Rob. They were both transmission techs. And I remember it's when the Escape first changed body styles. And there was a customer complaint that there was a noise from 75 to 78 miles an hour, and then it was gone. And we've done ripped every interior body panel out of this vehicle. Had me riding in the back seat as he drove at 77 miles an hour. You could hear it. It sounded like a Coke bottle, like you're blowing over the top of a Coke bottle. But from 75 to 78, you could hear it. Any other speed, gone. And we fought with this thing for 2 months.
Wow.
And FSE was there. He came for almost a month dealing with it. Ended up, it was the frequency between the tires in which was on the vehicle and the rims that were equipped with the vehicle that made that harmonic noise at that specific speed, but you could hear it distinctly. And he was the guy, one of the two that trained me. So he kind of instilled the don't give up kind of deal. But they figured it out. They got to the bottom of it. So that was the longest prolonged thing I'd ever seen, but it was wild to me.
Yeah, I I don't envy those situations, you know. It's tough.
Oh, not at all.
I mean, it's you get some of these that get stuck on, and for one it's like what's the next step, and then for two, how do you continue getting paid? And then how do you justify the amount of time that you've already spent on it, right? Cuz
Exactly.
you get to the bottom of so many things so quickly, right? Like there's certain things that come in and oh, I've had it to this shop, that shop, whatever, this, that, and the other, and you're like, oh, within 45 minutes, oh, it's this, boom, nailed it, and it's like over and over and over. You do that, and then you get one, and you're like, oh, okay, and then 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by, you're like, all right, hold on a second here, I'm getting like spun in a circle here. Is this me? Or is this the damn car? You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's like you
Right.
get caught in your own damn
Oh,
head,
yeah.
and then you're like, I can't justify spending, charging because but then you're like, but is it me? Because I've done all the, and you just get stuck in this vicious loop, right? Then you're like really shot in the dark because you're like, I'm all fucked up in the head. I can't get this right
Exactly.
now. And so it's so tough, man, to like, to for one to justify, especially when you go out on your own and you're trying to like justify this cost to your clients, right? But you
Exactly.
need to get paid for your time. Like, so it's like,
So I
is
get caught in that.
is giving up the right thing to do or not? Like,
Yeah. So I get caught in that vicious cycle somewhat often, I'll say, because not as a gluttony for punishment, but like the difficult ones, I like to push myself, I want to figure out what's wrong with it. I want to see what the actual root cause is and what is causing the customer's concern. And being a hero doesn't pay. And I found that out the hard way. But in my head, it drives me crazy to the fact that I can't actually figure out what is wrong and getting paid for it sometimes. I mean, yes, I may go further in diagnostics often because I want to know what's causing this issue because it's driving me crazy that I can't figure it out. And Does it cause me to lose money? Yes, it does. Um, but it's kind of like a mental psyche thing. And that is one of my biggest, I guess you would say, flaws for sure. Um,
Yeah, and sometimes you try to chalk it up as training, because it's like,
right,
well, maybe the
100%.
next one I'll know better and I'll be able to make up for it because I know now I've seen what could happen, so I'll be able to eliminate that possibility after. Then you get some of them like I'm probably never going to see that car again, so why am I wasting my time like a 1982 whatever, right? Like, well,
Right,
this is training. I'm learning, but like, why? I shouldn't even be working on cars this old anyway, right? Or like, how many times am I going to see something like this come in with this? Like, so yeah, it's still tough, and it really just goes back to just straight ego, right? Like, you just want to do it just so you can conquer the car, right? I mean, that's the bottom line, and that's the reason why we all
right,
do this anyway, right? Like, we want to fix what's broken. That's the goal. Like,
exactly.
it's broken, I'm going to fix it. And so it's broken, you can't fix it. Like, then why do I even exist?
Yeah,
why why
exactly.
why
And
am I even doing this every and it's like takes one car, right? You'll fix 80 cars in a month, right? And then it's like this one just trips you up and you're like, you know what, maybe I should just give up.
oh,
Isn't that
yeah.
amazing that your freaking mind just does that to you?
Yes, it does. And I will say my wife is a saint in that regard because there's some nights I'm just sitting there just not in a good mood. And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, nothing. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, it could be this or that or so on and so forth. And trying to get the disconnect, being that the shop is more or less in my backyard, is difficult. And it does drive me crazy. But I have a
And
very understanding wife, and she has seen me come in flat out throwing stuff mad to calm and happy, cool as a cucumber. So,
find you heading down there at 3 in the morning sometimes, I bet, I'm gonna go check this
oh,
one thing real
no.
quick.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, I'll be like, I left there. Yeah, so you got me. So, yeah, I'll be like, oh, I think I left the battery charger on. And I'm running out there to check something or
And you
another.
and
And
you th- and you think it's just because it's in your backyard, but man, my shop's a town away from where I live, and I found myself in the car past midnight heading down to the shop to just double check something real quick, or I had an epiphany, and I'm like, I'm gonna go check real quick because I'm not gonna be able to sleep unless I go go look. So, no
right,
matter how close or how far away from the shop, man, your mind will make you do things that you should not be freaking doing.
you are 100% correct. Yeah,
That is
I
just
mean,
ridiculous the amount of stupid shit this stuff makes you do, man.
now, well, especially, I mean, as a shop owner, you have multiple cars or technician, you have multiple cars you're working on, and you're thinking about all of them. But that is another thing I'm trying to work on, being self employed, single shop, more or less, and trying to build a disconnect. I feel like is very difficult for me, especially. So I left the dealer in March of 23, and I only left because my loan got approved, more or less, to build the shop. It wasn't even built yet. And I was working out of the 2-car garage, with no lift. I bought some quick jacks. Whomever makes those, I'm sure you've seen them. Like you slide them in the vehicle.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Quick
sure.
jacks, they lift them like maybe 3 foot or something. Common drag race world. But I quit and went to doing that. And even whenever I was just working at that 2-car garage, the people that were building the shop right beside me said, man, you got a lot of people bringing vehicles over, dropping them off for work. And I don't advertise anything. I have no Facebook page, anything. And a lot of people told me, they're like, when I talked to my father, other people, friends, and saying I was leaving, opening my own business, they were like, man, you should, buy a place in town or rent a place in town and all that. And I'm like, yeah, everybody says that, but I don't know if this is going to take off. You're not the one paying the bank note every month. I am. So to say I was a little bit nervous, yeah. So that's why I built this shop here. Um, Hindsight's always 2020. If I'd have known it taken off this fast, this quick, I definitely would not have built it here at the house, where I live. But it's been a blessing, to say the least. It's overwhelming at times, but it's been great, and it's been tough all at the same go. But I'm sure
Yeah,
you understand that as well.
yeah. Maybe you got that situation where I keep my personal stuff in the business, like, pretty well isolated. I don't want people coming to my house or calling my cell phone, right? Like 8 years ago, like I eliminated my cell phone from anybody that affiliated with the shop, right? Like there's still a few select clients, but they're more, they're friends that became clients. Let's put it that way. That's why they still have my number. And you probably know
Right.
as well as anybody, like you know that more clients become your friends than friends become clients. So it's a very
Exactly.
select few that have my personal contact information, but it's got to be a completely different ball game to have to for them to know that, hey, he's right there in that house, and that's like, do you get any? Have you had any issues with that?
Well, I hadn't until like a week ago, and
I was gonna say it probably takes a couple of years
yeah,
before that starts turning into an issue.
right. So yeah, I did not until about a week ago, and it was a new customer. It was, I didn't explain everything in depth, and he came up and knocked on the house door instead of just leaving the vehicle. I live in the country on a single lane road at the very back of the road at a very long gravel driveway. So if there's anybody back here that shouldn't be back here, I would know about it. But he dropped the vehicle off, and he tried to call me, and I was actually golfing at the time. It was Saturday. He was scheduled to drop it off Monday. Well, my wife had to work Saturday, and he came knocking on the door, and it saw my wife, and that's the first run-in I've had with it. But since then, I have placed an order for a drop-off and pickup box to mount onto the shop to try to navigate that issue. But um, trying to do the most with what I have currently. Uh, but that's the only big issue I've had. And also, out of respect for my neighbors, like I said, I live on a one lane road. So any customer which drops off their vehicle, I tell them, I said, if you're going I offer them to drop it off the evening before. If you're going to drop it off the evening before, bring it before sundown. Don't bring it at night. I try to cut down on all nighttime traffic. I don't want anyone coming up and down the road at night. Uh, just to try to, keep my neighbors happy.
Yeah,
They're good
well,
to
I mean,
me,
it's a
so I
respect.
try to be good to them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be respectful in all regards as far as that goes. And you know, I had no idea this was going to take off nearly as fast as it did.
Well, that's awesome in a respect, right? I mean, it's always good when things go better than anticipated. Obviously, it has a lot to do
Yeah.
with the way you run the place. So, what's the goal? What's the goal with it? Are you going to keep it like that, or
No,
what's your next
I'm
step?
gonna. So the original goal, like I said, making that jump, that was the scariest thing I've ever done. And I said, look, we're gonna start it at the house, build a shop. If it fails, I can join the workforce, and hey, I got a sweet shop. Whatever I can pay for it. And well, it's been successful so far, and going forth, I'm looking to buy a location in town within 2 years, hopefully 1 year. 18 months is my goal. just to try to get the stress away from the house uh, and get the work done in a more orderly fashion where I can hire more employees and offer a legitimate professional service, mechanics, technicians. Get a bad rep, shade tree mechanics, whatever else. I'm as honest as they come. That's why I use the tech metric system. I think it's a great system. Open a shop in town within 18 months and hire individuals in which I can trust to do it and do it correctly. And I will pay them more than anyone else as long as they're up to par in which standard should be, because the individuals whose cars you are working on, they also share the road with you and your family. I mean, it needs to be done. It needs to be done right. Torque specs need to be followed. Um, and it needs to be repaired correctly, because that is someone else in their family behind the wheel to
Absolutely. Yeah.
keep them safe. I mean, it's not some shade tree job to do it. You have ultimately someone else's family and many others in what you're looking after.
Yeah. And being transparent, right? And keep making sure that,
Oh,
everything's getting, the whole
100%.
vehicle's getting inspected and you're doing what you need to do to keep it safe and letting them know this is what you see. And I mean, that's really all it takes, I mean, that's everyone gets a bad rap of like trying to find the right clients, right? Or like, oh, that's not my client. And I've said it before, and I never meant to say it like I'm so selective that I'm only gonna have like the highest end people come in. It's just the expectations of what they want, they're really not that high, right? Like as long as you just communicate and you fix it right and you stand behind your work, like there's really not much more to it, right? And then it just comes down to
Right.
charging what you need to charge and knowing that if you're doing those things, you're doing it better than 90% of the other shops out there. If you just like, it's
Right.
not like this big grandeur thing, right? Like there's not like this huge big book of like things, like it's pretty simple, right? And then you can charge appropriately. I mean, it's still hard as hell. Don't get me wrong. It's not like simple, but it's
Yeah.
like some of the steps, it's like it's just like everything you just said. It's like that's if that you just do those things, you can charge what you need to charge to be successful and more successful than you thought you were going to be, right? It's it seems simple,
Exactly.
but it's not easy,
It's
but
oh yeah. When you talk about it, it seems very simple, but physically and doing it on paperwork is way more complicated.
yeah, when you
Most
go unlock the
definitely.
front door and you walk in, it just for some reason something changes.
Yeah, and I learned that very quick. I can fix cars all day, but I learned that very quick from leaving just a technician role and then going to a small business owner. I learned very quick pen, paper, and all that doesn't all add up exactly correct.
It doesn't, yeah. The vision and the mission statement and the goals, man, it's like I just need cash flow. I just need cars, right? Like everyone wants you to do all these business things, right? Like write down your mission statement, write down your vision statement, write down what your business is going to be in a year, and you're like, I have no freaking idea, man. I just need cars here so I can put money in the bank. Like that's all I care
Exactly.
about right now. And I think that's lost, man. That is so lost on 95% of us technicians that open shops, right? Like you get all this advice and all these things like that. I don't really care about any of that shit, right? Can someone just tell me how I get
Exactly.
more money for the cars that are coming in and then more of those cars coming in? That's all that matters.
Right. So that was one big thing when the big three, or whatever you want to call them, went on strike. I'm just opening a shop. I'm floating parts, all this. Well, when they went on strike 6, 8 months ago, whatever it was, I didn't have a standard operating procedure. Repairs X amount, blah blah blah. That you owe this much up front. I just floated all of it. And when the big three went on strike, now I do OEM when available. I had the parts paid for, but they weren't showing up. And I would call, my supplier and so on and so forth. And they were like, we have it ordered, but there's no ETA because everyone is on strike. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm floating like $40,000 worth of,
Oh no.
parts, and the first of the month is coming up, and my bills are due. And I'm like, holy shit. I said, so what are we going to do about this? I skated through that month, and that's a lot of stuff people don't see, opening your own business, people think you're slammed. The amount of bills and stuff that you have to pay is make your head shake. But that was the one time that I got scared. I'm like, well, I kind of more or less drained quite a bit of my funds to float these parts, and now I got to pay my bills out. And there's no parts coming in to get these vehicles out the door so I can get paid. We made it through it, but after that, I mean, it taught me, like you said, a learning lesson. It did teach me this. So I've implemented as SOP, any parts bill over $1,000 has to be paid for up front
Yep.
before work is, performed. Pay for the parts up front and then settle up for the labor and the rest of the bill once the vehicle's ready for pickup. Because I had several vehicles out here and all of them were over $1,000, and it got me in a real tight bind for a minute. But I mean, I made it through it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yep. Yeah. All you can do is learn from it, and
Yeah.
it's like those lessons never stop. And as long as you're amenable to them and you can take that lesson and learn from it moving forward, because no one tells you that stuff when you start. Like you would think there'd be like a rule book, right, or some sort of book you can get to like open it all, but you can't because everybody has a different way of doing it, right? And so what one works
Exactly.
for one person might not work for somebody else, right? Your client list might not want to give you a parts deposit, like I don't know you, right? So you might not even been able to get that draw the first time around because all those people maybe they didn't quite trust you enough to throw you $1,000 and then have you say, hey, you know what, that part's not going to be in this week. That might have, hindsight 2020, right? That might have put you in a bad position with the community, right? That might have tarnished your reputation a little
Yeah.
bit, like because they took their money and then you made them wait and gave them a bunch of excuses, and it might have been the first time they used you. So, I mean, I don't know. The universe does weird stuff, right? So
No,
the
it's a
best the best
super.
way to yeah the best way to learn and the best way to do it is just taking those licks and like learning how to deal with it and moving forward because it's not going to stop, right? It's never going to be easy.
No, yeah. It's a super give and take, Going from a dealer tech, I never had to deal with, or not to say deal with, but talk to the customer. Anything like that. I mean, I did on rare occasions, big repairs, something like that. I'd explain to them, come up, explain to them what's going on with the engine, transmission, yada, yada. But, never really day to day kind of relations, anything like that. So,
Never had to sell yourself, huh?
right, now, and I was, it was a huge learning curve in itself, and the phone rings constantly. That's the biggest hurdle for me, being one man shop more or less, and the phone ringing and trying to get work done. So I've been I've been in the shop built working since June of last year, so about 14 months now. And to say that I learned a lot in that time would be an understatement. As far as phone ringing, um, learning how to mitigate tasks, get things done, um, implementing standard operating procedures. I only answer the phone when I first get there or return phone calls when I first walk into the shop in the morning, lunch, or when I close. just being so small, I can't be on the phone all the time and still get anything done, as far as work goes. So just in that year's span, I've learned a few operating procedures that have got me more streamlined. Get the customer's car repaired efficiently, get them back in the car, and get them back on the road.
And don't be distracted. That's like
Oh,
key, right? I
100%.
mean, that's like you can only do one thing at a time. I think too many people think they're the superhuman and they're the only one in the world that can multitask. Nobody can multitask. Bottom line,
Yeah,
right? And just like you said, it's not worth putting someone's life in jeopardy because you're trying to make sure you're answering every damn phone call or taking every damn no, lock the damn door, put the phone down, fix the freaking car, and then deal with that next task, right?
right.
That's hard, man. That is so hard to delegate to yourself to like iron that stuff out. So definitely
No,
kudos to you, dude,
it's
for
been
like getting that done.
it's been a roller coaster. I mean, well, you leave a good paying job. I mean, I made good money. I mean, yes, it was an absolute mind screw up, to say the least, with the warranty, what all that, and leaving a good paying job to make the leap, go get a loan from the bank to build a shop from scratch and do it all took a lot. Like I said, it's the scariest thing I've ever done. But I did it. There's no looking back. And to say that I love it, I mean, I love them working for myself. It's great and all that, but it is super high stress. More stress, way more stressful than I ever thought it would be. As far as running the business side, I can fix any of the cars all you want. But going out, getting a loan, now we have to pay for it. We have all the work in which we can handle, and even then some, but dealing with it in a quarterly fashion is unbelievably stressful. Like taking something apart, something breaks. I've only got two listeners. Now it breaks, have to order another part. It's stuck on there. Can't roll it out. So I've put several standard operating procedures uh, in place just for the fact in which I only have two lifts at the time right now. But hopefully, like I said, within 18 months, I want to buy a place in town, be able to hire more help, and ultimately, like, give the community a professional repair facility um, that's completely transparent. And that's the biggest thing. I'm as transparent as they come, and I feel like that's a big reason why in which I have the workflow in which I do, because there's no smoke and mirrors, no pulling sheets, anything like that. It is what it is. It may not be the news in which you want to hear, but I will be honest and frank with you all day long.
That's awesome. Hell of a plan, man. I think you can do it. You got the resources and you got the mindset, right?
Oh,
And you're and
yeah.
you're and you're ready for some more stress, so you'll be all right.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
Bring
Pile
it
it on.
on. I love it.
Add it to the pile.
You've just taken
Yeah,
a bite. You got the rest of the burger to get through.
that's
That's
right.
what they say, right? Well, I look forward to catching back up with you and seeing that progression the next year. So we'll have to touch base again for sure. I don't know the next
No,
time you'll
most
find me out
definitely.
in Kentucky, but if I ever do, I'll have to look you up.
Yeah, definitely. Give me a shout. We'll get off here. I'll give you my phone number. And, we'll get off here. We'll give you a place to stay and come
Never
check
been,
out the
never
bourbon
been, never been
capital of
in
the
the deep
world.
south before, you know.
No, is that right? California. So I've been out west, but I haven't quite touched California. I've been up to um, Old Faithful and all those good spots.
You got
But
close. Yeah,
yeah, well, I might have to
I'd
come out and visit
I'd
you.
avoid I'd avoid it if I were you, but I like it here, so that's all right.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if you enjoy bourbon and you want to come see the Bourbon Capital of the World, you'll have a free place to stay and
There it is. That's all. That's
plenty
all
of
you got.
hospitality.
You had me at bourbon.
Oh, well, if that's your drink of choice, I've got plenty.
Well, Dailey, I appreciate your time. Thanks for all the
You as
insight. And like I
well.
said, yeah, all the best, man.